Do you want to start a business, get out of the office, achieve happiness and success while crushing life? This is Boss to Boss, the place to be for that extra motivation to get up and follow your dreams while learning from the ones who have already done it. And now for your host, Miro Wieslow.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Boss to Boss, R&R Rants and Recaps, episode 36. Here I am, Miro Wieslow, along with Steve Wiley. Steve, how's it going?
Good. Awesome. Can't wait.
Can't wait for what?
Can't wait to get going. Let's do it. Let's get going.
I love the excitement in there. All right. So a couple weeks ago, few weeks ago, we had an episode. It was about hiring and retaining employees and contractors and kind of going back and forth with our two different industries. And here we are. We said we have a lot more to talk about. You know, it was a very great topic, great feedback from it. And now we kind of want to hit on the other points of when you actually have this team you're working with, you know, these employees, first contractors. What do you do now to retain them? And more specifically, what do you do when things go wrong? How do you fire them?
Right.
And what if they're family and friends? What if they're 5,000 miles away? A lot of great topics, a lot of things we want to hit up, you know, get into more detail with you. Steve, without further ado, what's something that you think, something I guess that you struggle with, you know, when you're trying to figure out whether or not you should keep someone or not?
Well, that's a good question. And I think that like the number one thing that really gets in the way a lot of times is, you know, people are likable a lot of times personally and, you know, friendly, and like you kind of get a bond with somebody that you work with, obviously. But when the work isn't there, and, you know, you have to remember you're running a business. It's not like, you know, a clubhouse, you know? So as far as the biggest thing is kind of separating business from friendship, you know, and that's a struggle. And I think a lot of people kind of run into that because, you know, too many people keep people around, you know, just because of, you know, it's hard to get rid of somebody, or it's hard to, you know, kind of put yourself in that situation of like being the bad guy, you know, and kind of hurting that relationship. And, you know, and that's a big stress. I mean, have you dealt with that yourself yet?
Yeah, definitely. And just to give everybody else a quick background, if you didn't listen to part 1 of this episode, you know, Steve runs intrinsic marketing. So he does all types of development, you know, all types of advertising, design, you know, all types of work, focusing a lot on marketing and web development. And for me, I'm with Hodgepodge, so it's more the storage, junk removal, moving, you know, benefiting charities industry. So 2 totally different industries, and we're just, you know, kind of going back and forth about key issues and topics that we deal with every day, especially, you know, becoming a boss and, you know, running the show, and just showing that it's not that easy, and, you know, some things that you might be dealing with yourself. And for me, I guess, yeah, I've had numerous situations and kind of dealing with one right now. So I don't want to get too into it, because just in case one of these guys is tuning in and listening, though, it is someone actually that is related to my business partner's, one of his like work, one of his top guys. It's like his like brother-in-law, long story short. So it's definitely like a connection, you know, through the people I work with. And, you know, let's just say some things aren't going too well. And here I am kind of in the middle of it all. I got to make a choice. You know, do I do what's best for the business, for the company? Do I, you know, or do I possibly with that in turn hurt the relationship with, my business partner wouldn't care, but like, you know, it's one of his top guys. Do I hurt the relationship with him, who we're very close and we help each other, you know, with our businesses whenever we could. And yeah, so it's not an easy not an easy thing to do. I mean, that's just one example. I could go through many, but I guess one thing I've done a lot, and for me being local, I know for you, Steve, it's a little different. You have a lot of people that work remote. For me, I see a lot of these guys. I see my teammates all the time. Whenever I could, I drop by job sites. I still do a lot of jobs myself. So I always have that opportunity to sit down and, pull them aside and have a one-on-one that face-to-face talk, which I think personally it's so important. So like, with you, I'm curious how you do these talks if you don't see the people. I could imagine it can't be too easy, and there's definitely some miscommunication probably at times because, you don't get, unless you do like Skype calls like we are right now, you don't get all the all the contextual nonverbal
communication. Yeah,
exactly.
Right. Yeah. So I don't do Skype calls, and I don't do Skype calls for a reason. Mm-hmm. Number one, I deal with a lot of technical people that are a lot of times people that are in the field that I'm in, they're introverts. Like being on camera is like the most terrifying thing in the whole world. So a lot of times it's kind of like, what are you gonna product placement there? Okay, I know you and your LaCroix, but no. So
and avocado toast. You forgot.
Oh yeah, okay. You're a real hipster, huh? Okay. But no, what I was saying is like a lot of the people that I deal with, it's that aren't salespeople at least. Mm-hmm. It's like their biggest fear to be on camera. So I don't force people to do Skype calls. When I first started out, I wanted to do like weekly meetings and things like that. But dealing with contractors, like everybody, as long as they get their job done and it's good, it's all I care about. I'm not a babysitter. I tell people that like, when they first start working, I'm not going to babysit you. I'm not like a cattle driver, I'm not going to like, hold your hand through everything. You could either do it or you can't. And if you can, then you get paid. If you can't, then you don't. And that's just how it works. So like, yeah, I mean, like, it makes it a little easier, to deal with, having to let somebody go when you're not constantly going back and forth with them, seeing them face to face all the time. I mean, it's something that's important because in this business, some people just aren't cut out for certain projects, like even if they're good at writing, maybe they have no knowledge about a certain topic. So I have to find somebody else anyway. So it's like, there's a lot of kind of interchangeability that kind of goes on with what I do, one project that could be exactly the same job, but a different company, I would need a completely different team. So, that's kind of how it goes. Now, obviously there's core people that, are my go-tos for certain things, for design and building and development for websites, that's kind of like a uniform thing. You kind of have to have a relationship with that person. And I've had people in the past that were really, really great at doing like a certain, few things. But like we were talking about last time, some of those things we kind of phased out. We kind like the business kind of grew and it changed. And even though like this is one of my main guys when I first started, there wasn't a need for that stuff. And his skills weren't there for where we needed to go. So that was a very hard decision to kind of make that move from, somebody that would have been there, and would like, was really all in, but they're just the skills just weren't there for the things that we needed to do to make the business grow. And that's a really difficult thing because, it's like you got somebody that really wants to do their best, wants to work, and they really care about, what's going on. But like at the end of the day, if we don't make the right moves, and direct the business to where it needs to go to actually be profitable, then nobody's getting paid. And, so that's a hard move and that's a hard decision to make. But yeah, that's something to learn and definitely learned that lesson a couple times.
I'm actually curious now that you bring it up, and I wonder if it makes, I know it's never easy to, tell someone that you can't work with them anymore or they're just not made for this, but I'm curious if it makes it easier that they are contractors, so they're kind of used to going job to job. It's like kind of on a job to job basis. Whereas for me, I'm a lot of these people, I'm actually hiring them full time or part time, just because I can't afford to have someone, be like, oh, maybe you'll work, maybe you won't. And then I get a, ton of jobs and I have nobody that I can depend on.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a good point. I mean, there's very different, our industries are very different, and, it's great to kind of have this conversation because we're coming from both ends of the spectrum. But yeah, I mean, there's obviously upsides and downsides to having contractors versus employees. What I find is a lot of, people in the IT field are used to being contractors. It's contract jobs based on the project and things like that. You have a skill set, and, that's kind of how it works. So that is good. When you get a little bit more into like, some of the marketing and stuff like that, then you're kind of dealing with people that are used to maybe working, for somebody. Mm-hmm. And, that is kind of a strange fit. Sometimes you have to kind of like, ease them into the transition, because it's like, with this type of job, we build a team for each project, and so I don't hire employees because I'm not going to be able to guarantee that I'll be able to use them for the next project, because we do so many different projects that are so different. Mm-hmm. One day it could be print, one day it could be, web design, one day it could be SEO, one day it could be, social media or something like that, or, whatever, flyers. Mm-hmm. So, everybody kind of has to, I go into it saying like, hey, if you put in your best and, you do a good job, you'll definitely always be the go-to for this thing. Yes. And that's kind of like that's kind of how I build things around, like, mm-hmm. Hey, I'll always give the best person the most work, but, like sometimes you have somebody that you think you can trust, somebody that, you think that, will be there when you need them, and that just doesn't happen. And that's something that happens with contractors, unfortunately, because it's kind of like being a mercenary. You're out there and you're doing things, but it's about building a relationship, and that's kind of like a double-edged sword, because you build that relationship and things start not working, then it's really hard to kind of let somebody go. It's a struggle, and but you always got to keep your eye on the prize, which is the guarantee that the business is going to be profitable and the business is going to grow, and that's the overall goal for everybody. Because if the business grows, we make more money so we can pay more people, and that's really what it's about.
Exactly. And that's kind of what I tell some of my guys sometimes, like, if we're not doing these jobs in time, at the time we have budgeted, or we're breaking stuff or whatever, like, then we're going to go out of business. And that way, it's not just that we're not making money as a business, I can't pay you anymore. And it's a lose-lose. It really is. And that's why I want to reiterate once again how important it is, the human capital, how important it is to have the right people and to have the right team in place, because without them, you're not going to grow. You can try.
You're not going anywhere.
You can try. Some people claim they do it. Maybe they do, but I would say the odds are against you. And you bring up another valid another topic that definitely hits home for me, and that's sort of, if you had the one person that you just didn't want to do that line of work anymore. It's just, he wasn't suitable for the other work, but he was a great, teammate. And I've had that too. Cause initially, as y'all may know, listening to past episodes, I was more focused on just the on-demand storage and removal, with the benefiting charities portion through my resale and donations. And eventually, I got more into moving jobs. I mean, you've heard my little spiels about my New York job, about my Raleigh job just now. So we've done some cross-country moves, and moves have turned into about 50% of our business. That being said, the reason why that even happened was because, the market sort of dictated where we should go. And sometimes, if you want to stay alive and you want to progress and grow overall and grow the brand, you have to go with the market. People invest for a reason, and people invest in the things. People hop on, I guess, they hop on for the ride. It's like a term, or the term I'm trying to go for, but you hop on and you ride it. You ride the waves,
right?
And you go with it and
go for the ride. Yeah, go for the ride.
Exactly. So
roll with the waves.
Yeah, and I had enough. I had people, especially that I needed people to, I needed more reliability. I needed people here ready to go. So I had to go the employment route as, compared to contractors. And with that, I had people that I needed to get hours. And, we had the tools, we had the trucks, we had everything in place. We are already doing very similar line of work. We're handling people's items and we're handling them carefully. So it was just a matter of, moving a couple of things around and adding a whole nother, line of business, which is very similar. And at the end of the day, making us a more complete business, because now we're a one-stop shop, storage, removal, moving, doing it all. And it allowed me to be able to, instead of parting ways or telling people I just could barely use them, once in a while, and probably losing them, because most of these, most of my teammates here, they want to work a lot. They want to get the hours. Mm-hmm. They're usually not working any other jobs. It allowed me to keep them while at the same time kind of learning things on the go. And it hasn't been easy. That's one thing. It has not been easy. I can tell you straight up, it has not been easy. None of this has been, but it's allowed me to really grow. Like if I didn't do this, if I didn't kind of maneuver and go with the market and pivot, I wouldn't have grown as much as we did. And we wouldn't be, as kind of getting our name out in Chicago as much as we have recently, especially. So that's something, that's a little tidbit and story I wanted to share from my point of view.
Yeah, well, that's a really good point. I mean, we were talking about pivoting last time, and there's two things. Some people try to do too many things when they first start out. It's like when you go to a restaurant and they have 100 things on their menu. Yeah, I don't know if anything's going to be good, but if you go to a restaurant and there's 5 things on their menu, then there's a good possibility they do those 5 things really well. A lot of people make the mistake. They think, okay, well, if I just throw as many shots as possible, then something should work,
Wait,
and
you're telling me that doesn't work?
well, it works in horseshoes and hand grenades, some things like that, but it's like, it's one of those things where if you really want to be efficient with what you're going to do, and you really want direction, and you want long lasting relationships, obviously building a team is a huge part of kind of like designing your business. Mm-hmm. Figuring out how that's going to work is a really, really big aspect of, being successful. So if you're trying to do a bunch of things and you're trying to do them all in house, and you're not, even really sure what's working and what's not, because there's just so much going on, it's chaotic. That's a really rough thing. But on the other hand, some people have things like infrastructure that's put in place. Like, for instance, for me, when we pivoted, it was because we had servers and we had, the infrastructure necessary to get into doing web design and being able to do hosting and all that stuff, because we had all that already in place from what we originally set out to do. So it was something that kind of got us from being a seasonal business, with what we kind of like initially, came up with as far as what we were going to do, and found out, hey, this only works during the summer, spring, and fall. It doesn't work in the winter. And we're in Chicago, so that's long. Oh, yeah. You gotta kind of make some decisions. So we used what we had, and we built something that turned out to be much more profitable than what we originally set out to do. And the same thing with your case. I mean, you're talking about on-demand storage. You're going to have trucks. You have trucks. You have people that are able to do the labor. You kind of have that infrastructure in place. You're an accountant, so you got everything worked out. You know what you need to do, right? Or hopefully. So it makes sense to get into moving. You have the trucks. You have the trucks and you have the infrastructure. You have the people.
Sometimes you got to weigh it out, whether or not these trucks are making you more money just sitting there or right. actually out on the road.
Right. Absolutely. So, I mean, it's like, these are things that a business plan only goes so far. When you first come up with something, an idea to make money, 99.9%, I would say, are bullshit, because what you're actually going to end up with is not anything, like exactly what you wrote down, in your timelines and your time frames, because you don't even know what the hell you're doing. You don't know what's going to work, what's not going to work. You don't know, there's so many different variables in place to where, it's just it's writing on a napkin is good enough. Just kind of getting started. I think the business plan is most important, just to get you in the mindset that, okay, I'm going to start doing this as opposed to anything else.
And it's nice to have like fallbacks. It's like, okay, if this happens, I got this in my business plan. I didn't even look into this yet. And it's, it's all nice in theory. It's all nice to have it out. But
right.
I think the beauty of it is, and the beauty of being an entrepreneur and running a business, I know we focus a lot on the bad because there is bad. It's hard. It's not easy. It's long hours and there's a lot of, it's all pointed at you.
Yeah.
But the good part is, it's a beautiful thing. Like, you go, you adjust, like you try things out, they work, they don't, you do the next thing, and no one is sitting here and like pointing at you and screaming at you saying that you can't do it this way. Nope, there's only one way to do it. Like you can go out there, and obviously once you burn out through your money, you're done. And that would suck though. If you have things in place, there's no reason why you can't experiment and have some fun with it and figure out what's right for you and what's right to make this business grow.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of different structures to businesses, and I mean, it really depends on what you're trying to go for. If you're trying to do the startup thing and you want the corporate office before you even learn how to run a business, that's probably a bad idea. Learn how to make money first. Figure out what you're good at doing and something that people are willing to pay you to do. And if you know that you have that, then you'll never go out of business because you can always make money doing that. And, chances are if you decided to go into doing that thing, you care about it enough to where you'll go the extra mile to make it work. And, a lot of people that are like, starting businesses just because they think it's something that sounds fun. Those are the people that go out of business because their heart's not in it. They just think it's like a game, but this is life, I mean, for me, like, I always hated working for other people. I hated it. I couldn't stand it because I always thought I knew a better way to do things, and some things I was right. Some things I was wrong because you don't really know what it takes until you get behind the wheel and start doing it yourself, and that's the thing. So like, it's very important to be able to work for somebody else and kind of have that experience because, it's like, I tell people a lot of times, especially like salespeople, if I could work for myself right now, I would be the happiest person in the world because I'd make so much more money because I wouldn't have to do all this other stuff that I have to do every day. If I could just do that one thing that I'm getting you to do
right
all day because I know I could do it really well, it's like, man, that's another thing about finding people, and motivating people, especially from afar. There's so many different aspects to what I do because I don't just do sales. I don't just do IT. I don't just do writing and marketing, all that stuff, or design. It's all those things, so I'm not like a master at every single thing, like that. I mean, like I know I know what I want, I have the idea, but I have to find somebody that'll actually make it work. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So yeah, that's a rough thing.
Yeah, it's a story. Yeah, that's running a business. That's it. And
right.
And sometimes you need the right mentors. You need the right people to help guide you. Because I'm not gonna lie, I was that person when I started off with my company here, Hodgepodge. I initially was kind of looking into stupid things. I was like, oh man, we're going to get this awesome office downtown or something. Like,
right.
Why? Why would I need that? For what? We can't even park a truck over there. Like, where? Right. And, sometimes you just need, you got to talk things through and you got to realize, put your ideas out there and tell someone and then realize how stupid it is.
Oh, yeah.
And, like my mentor, he pretty much like shut me down and, pretty much threw me on my ass. Like,
yeah,
what are you like? Yeah, this is like the number one way you're going to fail. And,
right.
But it's good. You gotta, it's out there and put it out there and someone will quickly, that's why the beauty of Boss to Boss is so great. Cause we talk about how, it's actually awesome to be bossed. It is. Cause you learn all these things. You learn, you see what your boss is doing right and wrong every day. And you're like, man, I would do it totally this way.
You're getting paid to learn.
Yeah.
You're getting paid to get better.
It's not a bad thing. It really isn't a bad thing. And,
right.
and you just take it though and learn it. Don't just come in and be a zombie every day. take these days as learning experiences while you're getting paid.
Absolutely. And, there's another thing. There's another concept, another idea that comes up with a lot of the interviews. There is a huge percentage, a majority percentage of people that are not cut out to do this just because of one reason or another. Maybe they're just, like I've talked to people and they're just like, I just don't want to have to do any of that. I just want to do my job and, have somebody tell me what to do. That's like a huge thing. I hear that all the time. I just want somebody to tell me what to do. Mm-hmm. And that's just a human thing. I mean, not everybody can be the leader, so it's like, it just doesn't work. And that's the thing. I think people throw themselves into this. Number one, thinking that it's like the easy pathway to making a bunch of money, and that's not the case. I mean, the vast majority of people will fail, and it takes a long time to get yourself to the point where you're making just as much money as you were making when you were working for somebody else. Oh, yeah. So it's like, you have people telling you, why don't you just get a job? Why don't you just, why don't you do this and that, because they don't see the results right away.
Mm-hmm. I've had people tell me recently, like, cause I'm coming up at exactly 1 day.
Oh, beautiful.
In 1 day, it's going to be 1 year since Hodgepodge officially registered.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. I'm going to do like a 1 year recap episode next week, but
it's awesome.
I just had somebody tell me recently, like, so, has it been worth it? Like, what keeps you going? I hear everything you deal with, and, why do you keep going? And I get these questions all the time, and it's, stay tuned next week for the answers. Stay tuned next week. I'm not
tease.
Not releasing any of that.
Tease.
Next week you'll find out what keeps me going and why I'm still here through the tough times and through the good times. That being said, though, with employees, with contractors, with the team, there comes these points, these pivotal points, these bad moments, and you have to fire someone. You have to let them go. And both of our industries are a little different, and we've both sort of went through it and kind of not. Though, for you, Steve, for example, how do you go about it? I know you said it's not as bad because you don't see these people, but what is your go-to way for releasing someone?
Wow. Yeah, that's a good question. So a lot of the work is done for me just because they know that they're not doing what they should be doing and they kind of just bow out on their own. That happens. Sometimes though, there are harder situations where, you have to kind of like, somebody thinks that they're doing good stuff, when somebody has like a higher view of kind of what they're bringing to the table. And that's hard because, especially in the situation where somebody like is actually like you're communicating with them, they're there, they're actually doing things and they're producing things, but in your mind, it's just not good enough. Yeah. That's a very, very rough situation. And for me, I think that the best way to go about it is just to lay it on the table clearly, and explain your position. I think that beating around the bush and bullshitting with somebody, when they're taking their time and you're paying them money and it's a transactional thing, and they know like, hey, this is a business, this is not personal, and that's the best way, and explain, ask them questions like, okay, so this is what you did. This is what we used. Do you really think that this is, good enough? Do you really think that this deserves that amount of pay? Look at this other thing that we did. This is, just kind of like, kind of give examples, and I don't just tell somebody you can't work for me anymore. I say like, unless somebody does something crazy, obviously, then it's just, but like, if you have somebody that's bringing work to the table consistently, but it's just not good enough, I don't say like, no, you're just, you're just not good enough or whatever. I say, get the quality up. If you can do this, if you can bring it to this level, you're good. You're good to go. I always tell people, thank you. I appreciate the work that you're bringing to the table. I value every time that we talk, and that's the truth. But, bottom line is, you either are doing what needs to be done and you're getting the job done up to the standards that need to be, adhered to, or you're not. So, I just laid it on the table, and that's kind of how it goes. I mean, I'm not sure about the differences with you. I mean, I figured that it would be, you can either lift this stuff and get it in the truck and you're not going to break things, or you can't. And if you can't, you got this amount of times where you can break something. After that, then you're done. I think that would be a little bit more cut and dry. Unless
it is and it isn't. I wish it was that easy. I wish that's
it's never as easy, right? It's never that easy. Right?
No, there's customer communication. There's just work, just how you treat everybody else that you work with, whether or not you can actually work with the team, because it's just so much communication and moving. Actually, I know some people might not think of it as such, especially if you don't do it or if you're not there. A lot of it is an art. Like you have one truck, you have two trucks, and you have this huge house. You have to get it all into one area. You have to get it in there good. Like it's not something you just learn overnight, even though some people think that.
Yeah.
A lot goes into it. And there's communication, there's driving, there's just a lot of back and forth. And it's not as, I'm glad you made it seem like it was super easy, because it really isn't.
It isn't. Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I mean, when you guys were doing the moving for our place, I mean, I didn't think it was going to take 2 full trucks. It's crazy. And, and it was like stuffed, we could have almost used a 3rd truck, but what your guys were doing, I mean, you got some really good guys over there. I mean, like they really were doing some Tetris stuff going on in that truck. Yeah. And I mean, another thing that's a real skill is how things shift when you're driving. I mean, that's another thing. So yeah, no, I can see that. And I didn't mean to make it like it was easy. I know it's not easy. It's never easy. None of this stuff.
No, it was a good build up. You brought it in and I just shut it down.
Shut it down.
Shut it down.
Hell yeah. All right.
But yeah, for me, I haven't really had to fire people so much yet, because I've just been constantly on the offensive and constantly just bringing more people in. I guess no employees, actually. Contractors, yes. So I did release a few contractors, and that made it so really easy for me, though, because it was just like, one guy just wasn't performing. That's it. He was just going to jobs, and I got customer complaints right away. I told him about it. So, right there's a strike, and next time he got another customer complaint like the following day, and then next time he was complaining that he just his like feet were hurting, like he couldn't go up and down the stairs. And it's like, okay, you're here. This is the kind of work you agreed to do, and now you don't want to go up and down the stairs.
Right.
What am I supposed to do? It was actually, it was pretty simple, and it wasn't that hard. Like I told him, like straight up, like this is obviously just not a good relationship, and not cut out for you, and reevaluate. And if you want to come back one day, try it again. Let me know.
Right.
But right now, it's not going to work. And
some people just have the skills. Some people don't. That's it. I mean, and that is the simple thing. I mean, that's what makes things, easy. I mean, you can identify it, and, but there are delusional people that think they really know what they're doing, and they just don't, and that's a harder conversation.
And that's the important part. You want to keep track of your communication one way or another with this person. So in case anybody ever comes back at you, with a contractor, it's not as bad, but like with an employee, you want to make sure you have something communicated that, yes, they did something wrong. There was a complaint. You told them, you gave them a warning, you gave them a second warning, and then finally, you let them go. You want to make sure all this is communicated. You want to make sure, either through text messages, either through emails, some kind of, written document that was signed by you, just something to show later on in case, it does come back at you and at your face, because that very well could happen, and it does happen. And, it could lead to a very bad, you don't want to end up on the news for that kind of reason. You don't.
Yeah, if you end up on the news, that's not good. If you're talking about some confrontational stuff, I hope you're not talking about being on the news anytime soon, huh?
No, not over here. Not over here.
All right,
I'm trying to give tips. I'm trying to give tips to avoid that. So keep track of everything.
Yeah, that was like a large jump. I didn't think you were going to take it to the news level there, like newsworthy.
I mean, people get fired all the time, and the next thing you know, you hear, things coming out and whatnot.
Scandal.
So, yes, scandals at Hodgepodge.
Yeah, the scandals. Hear about it next week. All the scandals.
They're actually, you know what? It's awesome because we do have some drama going on. Like inside the office and between some workers and stuff. So it's like, what is happening here? Like all of a sudden, it's kind of like a more of a bigger, company feel.
Reality show.
Yeah. It's like, wow, these things I would never expect amongst, like contractors and, just people in this industry. And here you go, you got one guy complaining about the other guy and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it happens. That's one thing though, like, that actually is like a godsend working remotely with people, not having to deal with that. I don't miss having to deal with like office drama and all that stuff, dealing with like somebody's, like stories.
It's
and
inevitable.
Things like
yeah. Like I'm gonna have to bring in HR before you know it. So.
Right. Yeah. That stuff I definitely don't miss, man.
Yeah.
Work gets done a lot easier, without that.
Yeah. Right now I am HR. So it's like, yes, time to do
it.
Hold on. Let me call up HR. Oh yeah. I'm right here.
Hello.
I'm right here.
Yeah. Right. I guess the closing thoughts are I don't know if I want to talk about my team, but I guess just in general, for anybody that's starting a business or thinking about starting a business, kind of just really think about what's important to you and think about where it's going to go. Like what I don't know. We have to cut this. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But
That motorcycle threw you off, huh? In the background.
I don't know what it was that threw me off. I was probably thrown off just because I don't even know what we were talking about before. But I'll just start free associating, man.
No, just closing thoughts on hiring, retaining. Is there anything else any other tips you have for someone that's making the move to entrepreneurism and just wants to know what it's like running a team?
I would say that if you're going to get into, starting a business, first thing is to start a business, obviously, and you're probably going to start it on your own. Start thinking about things that you can do yourself. Start thinking about things that people will pay you to do that you could do yourself without anybody, and you can run it all the way through. Because if you don't have that foundation put in place where you can do everything that needs to be done yourself first, so you can always stay afloat that way and you don't have to depend on somebody else that you might not be able to depend on. That's the first thing. Pick something that you're going to be able to do from start to finish and you're not going to have to cry because somebody let you down. That's probably the best advice. And then, the second thing is when you start getting into, getting a team put together and you want to start growing beyond what you can do on your own, doing the things that you perfected, or close to it, kind of like got that recipe, doing it yourself. Understand that when you hire other people, it doesn't mean that you're not going to work as much as what you're working now. It means you probably are going to work more because there's going to be more work that other people are going to do, and you're going to have to do what you do, plus, all the things that go into, managing other people and making sure that the work is done to the right standards. And I think that people overlook that. People think that, I'll just hire a bunch of people to do it for me.
They'll do it all, right?
It doesn't work.
Nope,
it doesn't happen. Nobody does it all because, nobody cares about your livelihood and your business's livelihood as much as you do. And, when you really seriously get to the point where you are all in, do or die, and that's the way it's going to be. And that, and, you've decided that, that's when maybe you should think about doing your own business, maybe you got what it takes to do that. But if you're not willing to work from the time the sun comes up to the time the sun goes down and past that, and do things that you would never, ever in a million years do, even when somebody else is paying you. If you're not willing to do that and do it for nothing, probably most of the time when you're first starting out, then it's not cut out for you.
Man, you bring up so many topics here, so many points. I'm like, whoa. You got my head going all types of directions, and I'm over here like just trying to think about the topic at hand, but you got me thinking of 10 other episodes we could do now.
Oh, yeah.
The different topics, because I could just go on and on and on about each one of these situations, because I sure as hell disagree and agree with some of them too. But that's the beauty of it, everybody has their own way of doing it, and there's no secrets. There's no secret recipe.
Right.
One way that's right and one way that's wrong. And at the end of the day, you have to get out there. And then I think the best advice could be is just get out there and just do it.
Just start doing something. Right? Do something. Do something. Failure is part of it, like everybody says, but there is no secret. And if somebody tells you they have the answer, they have the secret, then run, because it's bullshit. And nobody knows how to run your life. Nobody knows how to run your life and run your business other than you.
Yeah, so
you probably don't either.
Nope, I don't know a goddamn thing.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Here I am, and I just show up. Right. I just show up and I sign people's checks. Right. And the business runs itself. Oh yeah. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed another episode. We're definitely going to continue some of these topics, so be on the lookout. Next week, be on the lookout for my 1-year anniversary of Hodgepodge episode. And there's some teaser questions of why I still do this that will be answered. So stay tuned. If you're still interested in the logo contest, we might have a winner. We might not, but we're still taking some last second entries. Last second. I mean, we'll squeeze you right in if you hit us up now. The email for that is contest@boss2boss.com with the number 2 in there. Besides that, I hope you're crushing it. I hope you keep crushing the rest of your week. R&R 36, right? 36, man.
Yeah, believe it?
It's been 36. Real. Steve, it's been real. Hopefully we talk again soon. Hopefully you don't have to edit this out too much, because low key, I don't like talking to you too much. But
right, yeah, of course.
Hope you all crush the rest of your week, and we'll be talking again soon. Peace.
That is all for this episode of Boss to Boss. Your next step is to visit Pt.2, where you will find proven techniques followed by professionals to help you make that next step. Again, that is Pt.2boss.com. And remember, the time is now.